Hello, you're listening to Otaku Spirit Anime Cast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined here with Chris.
Yo.
And today is our third and final first impressions for the summer 2023 anime season. And then we could start into our reviews. It's like it's getting so late into this stuff. It's like, oh, we might as well do our reviews now. No, we still got we're like halfway through the season, so we're not doing too bad. Just a lot of shows, and we're a little bit late on starting the first impressions, but that's fine. Gives a better idea on what's good, what's cooking. And honestly, I had to be perfectly honest, most of the late starters of this season, really good.
Think so?
I mean, this particular podcast, which is going to be all the late starters, is pretty good. So, we have in our repertoire, My Happy Marriage, Reign of the Seven Spellblades, Classroom of Heroes, or Classroom for Heroes, sorry. Temple, man, amazing show. Dark Gathering, Zom100, Bungou Stray Dogs 5th season, Helck, Synduality Noir, Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence, Sacrificial Princess, Tonikawa, High School Days, and Mushoku Tensei. Mushoku Tensei wasn't a late starter, it's just Chris was being too dang slow. And technically, My Happy Marriage wasn't either. It's just, again, Chris was too slow.
Yeah.
I kept putting him off. The rest is good, though. We got a good lineup for this
Notice
one.
that those two are the only ones that I may or may not have surfed the high seas for.
Yo ho ho.
Yeah, maybe.
Like Synduality, you ain't watching that anywhere illegal.
Nah, probably not even.
You're not gonna even sell to get that one.
Nah.
That's not even worth making the boat trip.
No.
It's like, yeah, it's a little bit fun on the boat, but I ain't gonna make it anyways. I'd rather just sit on the beach.
I was given a assignment of a couple, and guess what? I did those ones. Synduality has not been mentioned as a
That's becoming
required.
his excuse now. Because I did these ones, I can't do that one.
No, I'm just saying.
He's still got that normie in him.
You said.
I thought we fixed him, people.
We said.
He's still got normie in him.
Andrew said, I really want you to watch My Happy Marriage. So I watched My Happy Marriage. Now, Mushoku Tensei I was going to do. Undead Murder Farce. Andrew said, Chris, I really want you to watch Undead Murder Farce.
So
Guess what I did? I watched Undead Murder Farce.
Regret either of those decisions?
No.
Okay, good.
I didn't say I would. I did. I just said that.
Did you watch Dark Gathering too and Helck, right?
You never said. You never said. Well,
you did watch Helck.
I was already watching that.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
It was Dark Gathering. You said maybe I might be interested in because it's not as dark.
It's got a yandere character in it.
It's got a wait.
It's got a massively yandere character. It's massive. Anyways, it's pretty much the entire subplot is a yandere character. So there's your Mirai Nikki hang there. Anyways, but yes, let's dive into it. Again, we're at talkspirit.com, so where you can go for our links, social media links, all the ways to get a hold of us. Our Discord, great community of people there. But yeah, we definitely appreciate everybody for their support through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships on the YouTube channel itself. But let's jump into it. My Happy Marriage. Let's kick things off with a bang. Watashi no shiawase na kekkon. This one is streaming on Netflix. I think it's running for 12 episodes. Done by Kinema Citrus. Source is a novel. Genres are fantasy, romance. Takahiro Kubota is working on it, which they haven't really done too much stuff, so I'm kind of surprised this show is turning out as good as it is. They did an episode of Dorohedoro, which is good, but then they did Wake Up Girls, which was the first Wake Up Girls was fine. It was the second season that sucked. So I guess it's a positive side. Anyways, this follows the Saimori family at first. We get a glimpse of this girl, Mio Saimori, who is the daughter of this family, and it's a very prestigious family. But for some reason, Mio is pretty much treated like a servant. Very poorly treated, especially by her stepsister, who just throws junk at her and says her tea is terrible, whatever. And it seems like the whole family kind of overlooks it. The stepmother seems to hate Mio. Her actual father seems to not even pay attention to it, just kind of ignores it, which is really tragic. We find out that in the past, her father, Shinichi Saimori, he had a wife, Sumi Saimori, who is Mio's mother, and after she birthed Mio, she passed away. And then over time, he ended up getting wed again, having another child, then put the two children under a test to see which one has spirit sight, or being able to see the spirits of this world, which they call grotesqueries or something like that. Let's just call them spirits from now on. Able to see spirits, and the new daughter was able to see it. And so they pretty much just discarded Mio to the side. And like I said, pretty much treated her like a servant. And many years pass. And there's this one boy that keeps visiting from the Tatsuishi family And it seems like Mio gets along with him. He really treats her with respect, gets her gifts and everything. Then eventually come to find out, Mio's father decided to wed this boy that she likes off to Kaya, the other sister, the stepsister, the evil stepsister. And then wed Mio off to this general of this special anti-grotesque unit, who's pretty much known as being like really cold-hearted. Like his previous fiancés fleed him because he was so mean. Well, they decided to just wed her off to that family, which is the Kudo family. But when Mio arrives there, she's quickly captivated by his beauty. Like, this guy looks super handsome. And yes, he's kind of off-putting. Like, he just immediately says, "You gotta do what I tell you. If I tell you to die, you die, right?" And she's like, "All right, understood." And it's kind of like, whoa, this chick kind of just jumped right onto that. But yeah, it kind of just follows them as they get to know each other. Kudo, who's, yes, not really open to people. He's very distant. He's cautious. He's a very cautious man because of his position in this military group. And at the same time, Mio is comfortable there. I mean, she's no longer being abused by... I mean, it's like she left hell and pretty much came to a place where everybody thinks this guy's evil, but this guy's not that bad. I mean, she's a lot better off, but she's not comfortable yet. She believes that she was sent there with she believes that she came there and was accepted in by Kudo under the understanding that she had supernatural abilities, because the Saimori family is known for having supernatural abilities. But she doesn't have any abilities. And so she's afraid that he's just going to end up kicking her out anyways. And even though she's getting more comfortable with him and likes that he seems to care for her, then eventually, come to find out, her father wasn't supposed to wed her off to Kudo. The Tatsushi family wanted her because of her mother's bloodline. Even though Mio doesn't have any sort of signs of abilities, she's from the Usaba clan, who have a very special ability, which we haven't really got into yet. So, yeah, thus they tried to make Mio leave this guy that she's now comfortable with, and she's like, "No, I don't like this dude." But yeah, your thoughts on Taisho Tomy fairy tale with supernatural abilities?
I'm actually really enjoying this. It very beautiful. As we had mentioned on the music podcast, I was really taken aback by the visuals on this show, and watching it, yes, it is absolutely gorgeous. A lot of attention to detail, which actually kind of makes the more far off scenes where the characters are kind of in just odd angles. It kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. But one of the things that I do truly love about this is the show does take a lot of time to capture the emotions of each moment. In particular, there's a moment where Mio just gets a simple note of recognition from Kubo, and it was just absolutely caught me off guard. I absolutely loved it, because this show is really lives in the underdog's storytelling. Mio having such a really rough background, going into this, while it's technically a bad spot, at least she believes that she's going into a bad spot. You slowly realize that no, it's not as bad as she actually thinks it is, or all the rumors that are going around about Kubo. It's not. I'm sorry, Kudo.
Kubo. I thought I was like, maybe I misheard him. Kubo won't let me be invisible. But Kubo won't let me be invisible.
All the rumors are not really as true as they make it out to be, and at some point he actually makes a reference to kind of the reasonings for it. As Andrew had mentioned, he's got a lot of enemies. He's got a lot of women who are after his power, after his wealth. And so,
well, the first time she cooked something for him, he's like, "Wait, Yurie didn't make this, the other servant?" And she's like, "No, I made it for you." And he's like, "All right, eat some of it." And then she paused for a second because she's a little shocked by it. And he's like, "I'm not going to eat it. It's poisoned." And he walks away.
Right.
I was like, she just went through all that trouble to make that for you. Good thing that Yurie is best wing woman, I guess.
She is. She absolutely is fantastic. But yeah, all in all, I absolutely love it. I think it's gorgeous. And like I said, a lot of great drama points that are absolutely moving.
Yeah, for sure. Like, easily probably the most beautiful show of the season. I mean, you have some crazy animation pieces and directing that's being done by Zom100. Great directing and stuff being done by Undead Murder Farce. I mean, there's some good looking shows this season, but this one just has just a great style to it and a lot of attention to detail when it needs to have that attention to detail. It really does capture the setting, and just all around just a very beautiful show. I like many people was a little bit shocked by the fact that I never realized it had a supernatural tag to it, because that was one of those, like I said, joking about it being Taisho Tomi fairy tale, like the whole idea of a woman being married off to somebody that everybody thinks is like not going to be a good person, or just the unknown of that person they're being married off to, and then being welcomed in warmly and having your life kind of change around it, and then having technically the nasty family surrounding you. And then out of nowhere, dude like just laser beams something like out of his finger, and I'm like, wait, oh, we're doing this, okay?
Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt. I was like, wait,
and then
we're doing what?
And then Koji finally grows some cojones and tells Dad no, and Dad says, all right, cool, I'll throw the furniture back at you. It was like, okay, we're going to go in this direction. But I will say the supernatural aspects of it, it's not overdone. This is not like, suddenly out of nowhere everybody starts going Goku and Vegeta and blowing up entire districts. They might do that eventually. They blew up a house. It's not getting too crazy with the supernatural stuff. It sort of fits in the setting itself, which is all these different families, different prestigious families and high-rank families that all seem to have bloodlines that are more prone to different types of styles of abilities. Kudo having one of the most best offensive style ones, which was pretty much put him in the position he is and why he's so feared. Each one of them sort of has different abilities they can sort of use. And that's sort of where it's leaving it. And then you're having this power struggle that at first seems like it's just tragic life mixed into power struggles of wanting to gain certain bloodlines. And that's where you're going to start having a lot of that backstabbing back and forth, and people turning a blind eye or not turning a blind eye and stepping up to the plate to protect or seize control of something. And that's where it's really kind of taking that and making it really fit the setting and fit the characters and just enhance the story that is, like I said, early on, just, holy crap, Mio's life sucks. From the very beginning, you're like, holy crap, this girl's life sucks, and everybody's a jerk. And Father is kind of a jerk for not saying anything. He's just kind of just sitting there, not doing anything. Father, hey, open your mouth. Why aren't you saying anything? But I do like Chris says, I think it does a really good job of sort of portraying each scene, because it can just be a very simple, very, I guess, cheap way of just building up emotion. Like, oh yeah, obviously you're going to cry because Mio is being put through hell. But it's doing so well at portraying each of those scenes that it doesn't feel cheap. It feels fleshed out. The one point that I point out early on is having that scene where Mio first leaves the Saimori house and goes to Kudo. When she's leaving the house, she's like, what memories I do have of this left of this place, I'm leaving behind. Like, they took everything from her. Her stepmother and stepsister took everything from her. Pretty much took her position as the daughter of Shinichi. Pretty much had the tree that pretty much symbolized her mother cut down. All this stuff that she knew as being her family and her right was taken away from her. She was seen as a servant.
Even the servant the head servant at the time that was with her mom, they got rid of her because she had stuck up for Mio at one point. They just didn't want her around anymore.
So it's like this whole great scene where it just shows her kind of just go to the front door, does a little bow and says, goodbye, what I have remaining, and walks away. Like I said, that's sort of what kind of drives you into having that feeling of like, well, I mean, how bad can Kudo be? Like, if she's leaving this, there really isn't much for her to go to, I guess. It's only uphill from here, I guess, is the best way to put it. He could probably be a physically abusive dude, but at least it's only one person versus all she's getting, technically physical and mental abuse that she's having at home. It is super tragic. But I do like what they're kind of setting up so far, because yes, you have the whole aspect of Mio sort of realizing at some point that she is safe now. Kudo realizing all the work that she was trying to put into pretty much keeping his attention, which was, yes, a lot of it was because she didn't want to get discarded. Just kind of seeing all this kind of build up in Mio as a character, her slowly gaining some sort of confidence in herself because she's constantly apologizing for everything. And then eventually having that moment where the two of them could be separated and seeing how they come together. That was so fantastic. The sixth episode was absolutely incredible. Like, it was enough that I was like, drop what I'm doing. I'm making a video on this because I got to talk about this episode because there was so much in it. It was so beautifully portrayed. I love that Mio finally giving them that face. That's all I'm going to say. That face that she gave them, like, finally, no, no, I'm not going to do what you're telling me to do. It was so gratifying. I just absolutely loved it. And then, yes, having this pretty crazy little fight that kind of was very one-sided, but it was still cool because you were rooting for that one side. It was just really well done. Has me super hyped for where it goes from here. I really do hope it doesn't fall off, but it's a beautiful show. Great characters. I mean, besides the bad characters.
I haven't seen the sixth episode yet.
But, yeah, that was the funny thing. I ended up making my video because it's one of those aspects that I keep seeing a lot of people saying how Kaya is evil. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like Kaya either. I mean, Kaya's a B. But at the same time, Kaya is the product of her mother. Like, her mother made her what she is. And so I'm like, I can't really blame Kaya. I mean, I still blame Kaya, and I think she's the spawn of Satan, but at least we all know that her mother's the Satan. Well, her mother is Satan.
Yeah.
Basically, her mother said, you know, treat her terribly. She was literally straight up saying, this is below you. And, you know, it all started when she said that she stole her comb. And she confronted the mother because she thought that she stole her mother's comb. And the lady said, you're accusing me of stealing your stuff. And that just, it all went downhill from there. She was already kind of put to the side, but that kind of just turned her into being a target.
It's one of those things of, it's not necessarily, the mother should have grown out of it. But at some point, she's obviously very similar to Kaya.
Selfish.
Yeah, they're selfish, and she wants to kind of push Mio out of the way so that her daughter will get the lavish and the attention. And in that process, she's obviously spoiling Kaya. I mean, I'm agreeing with you. The idea that when it comes down to it, these two are absolutely products of their environment. They are literally, and I think that's actually, they're well written. I hope that there is more depth to that, not necessarily that. I mean, I can see it on the surface, what they're doing, but at the same time, I hope it's not just the surface level. There's more depth to that. It's
probably a lot to do with power. Mm-hmm. Claiming your castle and not wanting to accept that the Usuba clan is more, is a better bloodline. There's a lot to do with bloodlines.
I doubt that those two actually know about the Usuba. I mean, I barely get the impression that.
Well, I mean, it's the same in general. It's the Saimori family itself, and they want to produce,
right,
like these prodigy children. That's why they were a little bit shocked that Mio couldn't use anything, but then Kaya could. That's why Kaya became pretty much the focus. Right. But I do see Mio as being sort of a reminder in the Saimori family. Not that it's her fault. I see Mio being sort of a reminder of that family of something else. So obviously, if the stepmother sees Mio, that's a reminder that Shinichi wasn't just hers, and that Mio could possibly steal from her daughter. From Shinichi, her father, her blood father's angle, I think she reminded him of his wife. So that's why I think it implied that he cut down the tree because it was reminding him of his wife. And then I think he was fine with Mio being pushed aside because he probably didn't like seeing Mio. I think her father is literally the character I'm the most curious about. Again, similar to Kaya, I don't think he's a good man. He didn't physically abuse Mio, but he's neglecting her to a very massive abusive length. But there is a side of me that almost wonders if he is being oblivious to the whole situation. Because like when the Tatsuishi family kind of inquired him, you were supposed to give us Mio. And he's like, oh no, I gave her to Kudo. I almost feel like, why Kudo? These marriages are political. It's for power. You marry off these women in order to gain relationships with certain families. Why did he give it to Kudo? Kudo doesn't seem to know who Shinichi is. Now, when Kudo even came there, he was a little bit afraid of Kudo.
Well, Kudo was out of the way, so that would go lean more into what you're saying. It seemed like
he was just trying to get her away.
Get her away.
He didn't benefit from marrying Mio to Kudo family. That's the point I'm making. I think he was trying to save Mio from the situation. So there's a side of me that's thinking that eventually it's going to come out that he's still a dirtbag, but he's technically trying to help her. He neglected her, but he never directly abused her. He just allowed things to happen because, yes, on one hand, she was reminding him of his wife. He didn't want to see her. He wanted to forget that. But at the same time, he does still technically love his wife enough to find her a safe place.
And that I like that. I didn't think about the getting her out of the space because I don't think he's completely. I don't think he's completely hateful of her either. I think that he's just kind of turning a blind eye to the situation, even though because he doesn't really want to irritate his current wife, whatever.
Yeah.
Stupid lady. Now at the same time, stupid lady.
Stupid lady Saimori, yes.
Now on the same token, like I said before, I don't think he really was fully aware of the of her family's power or that line. I think that they kind of implied that maybe she hid her lineage when she married him. But I don't know because either way she would be marrying into nobility per se as somebody without nobility lineage. I don't think that would really happen.
Yeah, I think the other cool thing that kind of comes from a lot of this stuff is I know that a lot of people get frustrated with this. I get frustrated with it as well. There is an element to the story that it is about, it's very set in its time, which I think the thing that I like the most about the storytelling is that it's even though it's sort of yes, it's technically an alternative reality because you have the supernatural abilities and stuff, but it's still its time period. It still sets in that time period. I know a lot of people get frustrated with characters like Koji. Koji being the one that liked Mio, but then got wedded off to Mio's sister. And he disputed at first, but the guy's like, no, you're going to marry off to Kaya. And he's like, okay, well, I had nothing. He can't do anything about it. There is sort of social norms of this time period, especially. I mean, it's still technically present in Japan still to this day. But especially with this certain time period, it wasn't like Koji would be like, no, Dad, I hate you, and runs out the door and goes marries Mio anyways. He wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, yeah, maybe he might be able to kidnap her and run off to somewhere, probably end up dead. But its time period that's not something that Koji has the ability to really step up and argue. And it's just kind of a sad reality. And I do like that a lot of the characters so far, and I'm really hoping that we eventually get this with Mio's dad. The characters so far really do have a few of them that are the social norms. Don't step out of line. You're part of this system, this cog, this power hierarchy. But then eventually Koji, that camel's back breaks. He finally steps up. And even still, he doesn't have the power to, because now you have the supernatural elements coming into play, and he can't take his dad on. Like I said, it's doing well enough to have these characters fit the setting, and at the same time have those conflicts and have those growing points where they finally step out there and do something. But anyhow, that's a lot for me to say. I really like the show. Like it's probably turned out to be my favorite show of the season. It might be struggling with a couple other shows for first place from right now. So yeah, that's my happy marriage. Moving on, Reign of the Seven Spellblades, or Nanatsu no Makken ga Shihai Suru. This one is being done by JC Staff. Source is a light novel. Genres are action fantasy. I think here recently they announced it was going to be a 12 or 13 episode series, so single core, unfortunately. But yeah, by the creator of Alderman in the Sky. But yeah, this takes place at Kimberly Magic Academy, where we follow a guy named Oliver Horn who is heading towards the academy for his first day. Going down this path, ends up bumping into a few other individuals. Nano, who seems to be like some sort of samurai from the eastern lands of this world. Shella, who's like from some prim and proper family. Her father apparently is one of the instructors. Pete, who's just a bookworm. He has no magic. His family bloodline doesn't have any sort of magic capabilities, but he was able to get there by doing a special exam just to study magic still. Guy Greenwood and Katie, who's like a super like anti. There's a group within this world because humankind at some point beat up the demi-humans and took all their land. Well, there's groups that are trying to reclaim rights for the demi-humans, and her family's like really big into that stuff. So she respects the rights of demi-humans, even though mankind mostly experiments on them and enslaves them. Anyways, they head to the academy. There's like some disruption that happens at this parade, and Katie almost gets squished by an ogre, and then Nano saves her, and then they go to class where they find out, or they go to the first assembly where the big head mistress of the academy comes out and says, "Welcome to Kimberly Magic Academy. 20% of you are going to die." they're like super clear about it. Like 20% of you are going to be what they call consumed by the spell, which is you're going to be training magic at this academy. And they have like this ratio about 1 in every 5 students at some point will be consumed by their study in the magic, or they'll summon something that will kill them, or they'll summon something that will suck them into the void. Basically, 20% of them are going to die.
I thought that was the other way.
What?
20% of them were going to live. It's all right. I'm just making a silly joke.
That would be worse. Hey, maybe being consumed by the spell is how to actually live.
Right?
There you go. Chris has got it. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, they start attending school there. We have a couple things that are revealed over the next few episodes. One is that the academy is right on top of a labyrinth, and at night it seems like the labyrinth sort of blends into the school itself. So sometimes as you're walking down the halls, you'll end up inside the labyrinth, and you gotta figure your way out. Sometimes they'll have higher upperclassmen kind of guide people back to the surface. Seems like so far every upperclassman they run into so far are nut jobs.
Yeah, pretty much everybody else is crazy. Like
a chick that likes to birth or summon out of her womb. She summons monsters from her womb. It's like she births them. And another guy takes the corpses of fallen students and turns them into monsters. Yeah, the labyrinth's weird. But yeah, they go to classes. They end up we at some point get an explanation of the 7th Spellblade, which is essentially in combat, if you're at this one step, one spell position, which is like you're in pretty much arm's length with somebody, there's these abilities known as the Spellblades, which currently there are 6 known. And these Spellblades is pretty much if you get that off and you're within that one step, one spell range, it's a guaranteed win. These Spellblades are pretty much OP, you're going to win. But yeah, there's 6 of them. Some of them have been designed in order to counter others, but the way they work is, and who has them is, you want to keep it secret because you don't want somebody to figure out a way to counter yours. And yeah. What else? Oh, at some point, Katie tries to help the ogre. This lady ends up capturing her because she made the ogre talk. Then Oliver kills somebody, but I don't know if I want to get into that stuff. Yeah, episode 6, they have the big plot twist, which is the big reveal of sort of what Oliver's actually doing there. And I don't know necessarily that we really have to get into that. It's a lot of people think it's a really cool reveal. It's like the last part of the first volume, the big hook for the original novel series. But yeah, Oliver's there not to go to school. Let's just say that. there's a purpose for him being there, and yeah. There's a lot of focus early on also is in Nano. She's the girl that was from the Far East in this warring area of the East, and she's like this really powerful warrior, and she ends up getting swept up by Shella's father, taken and allowed access to the school itself. So she doesn't know magic, but she has the ability to sort of infuse herself with her magic or mana, whatever, and allows her to be like a super skilled fighter. And yeah, she's looking for a duel with somebody that's of equal footing so that she can die joyfully, because that's the samurai way. Thoughts?
I really love this. It seems like there's so much to this world. I really like this guy's writing, and he's one that I should follow a lot more closely because this guy is brilliant at making these worlds and digging into certain aspects and giving you just enough to kind of get an idea of what's going on there, without overwhelming you with walls of text, giving you enough to kind of just whet your palate and keep you wanting more. So yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled at the writing of this this story. A lot of the action scenes have been absolutely brilliantly done. I think they look fantastic. The sound is absolutely on point. Just all around, I really, really am loving this show. It's just too much fun. I can't wait each episode. Second it's popped up, yeah, that one's one of the first ones that I'm watching that day.
Yeah, I think early on I was really enjoying it because, yeah, like similar to Element in the Sky, for its issues, especially if I remember correctly, it just didn't feel like it had a very satisfying endpoint. Like it wasn't a really solid chapter close. I really did appreciate their world building and the politics they were kind of building up with that one. So obviously with this one, I had a little bit of expectations that they were going to still pull that off with this one as well, and I think they're doing as well, really well. This is kind of one of the very... It's been a while since we've had a really solid Magic Academy type story, you know, kind of a... I won't say like a Harry Potter style thing, because I don't really know much about Harry Potter, but it just kind of having that magic school setting where things feel like they have weight to it. It's not just gain the harem, BOP magic user, and that's the focus. And eventually they find their arch nemesis or something like that. This one really does feel like it's taken its time to really get you set into the setting of Kimberly Academy. And I'm assuming that the Kimberly Academy is going to be something that is a significant story piece to it as it goes through, whereas most Magic Academy type of shows, the school is just a vehicle. Like, it's just there to get people to come together so that harem shenanigans and OP main character. This one really feels like the school itself is breathing. And it technically is, because every now and then it gets consumed by the labyrinth. But it's doing really well to kind of flesh everything out. They actually have classes. I know it's crazy, I know. The characters actually go to classes. And each one of the classes is almost kind of telling a story in itself. You'll have the one section where Luther is talking about the Spellblades. You'll have this other one where you have them pretty much dissecting the creatures, which is obviously very upsetting to Katie because she likes the demi-humans. We get into the whole segment where they're doing the potions, and Oliver pretty much shows his skills and knowledge by realizing that people kind of screwed up and trying to help them with their mess-ups. Each class sort of has a story told to it, while at the same time having these little conflicts within the characters themselves, like the appearance of Andrews, who Shella knows, and how he's constantly trying to prove himself because he feels like he's going to lose his position. And so you obviously know he's not that bad of a dude, but at the same time he screws up by getting a bunch of kids down in a cobalt fight, and then eventually a Garuda shows up, and and you have to fight the Garuda, who's yelling out, "What does it feel like to be hunted?" I got a kick out of that. It's like they're one of the mage in this world. Mages, a pastime that's pretty much been left behind in the past. There was a long time pastime where mages would hunt down kobolds. So they send the kobolds out and they would hunt them down. So Andrews, in order to prove himself to Oliver and Nano, he's like, we're going to have a competition to see who can kill the most kobolds. And then out of nowhere, this Garuda shows up. And he just, like, creates this spell, like, letters in the air that reads, what does it feel like to be hunted? And he's just going around just killing all the... Well, he didn't kill anybody, apparently, which that was a little bit annoying. Literally, my video, the next episode was like... Because somebody said, oh, thankfully nobody died. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? They build differently in this world. But yeah, it's got a little bit of a brutality there, despite that joke. I will say that while the world itself is building really well, it's very realized. I like the little details. Like, they have this whole segment where Oliver goes to go to sleep, and he realizes there's these clock knockers or something like that.
Yeah, I want to.
It's like a little creature that will stop clocks. So you'll often... I like how Guy the next day shows up late and he's like, dang it, I didn't know this place had those. There's like these little creatures that sometimes like stick themselves to clocks. Just little details that I really like. But I will admit, I'm not 100% on the character so far. I think they've done a really good job of Katie. I do like her development. She used to live with demi-humans. She likes fighting for their rights. She understands that this school is full of people that exploit the demi-humans. And so she's gonna have to learn to kind of deal with that. Like, not everybody here thinks like I do. And even though it hurts, I have to deal with that. There's going to be nasty peoples at this place. And hopefully if I stick around and I get stronger, eventually I can hopefully change something. And I love that development in her. Shella, I think, is fantastic. She's just like big sis type. Pete, Shrug, Guy,
I don't think
Shrug. Nano. She wants to die, and it seems like they're doing something with her character. Oliver, I feel like is... I see things pressuring up, and I really do think they're going to probably do something really cool with his character. So that's kind of like 2 characters really so far they've really gotten into, and the rest, or 3 characters technically, 2.5 characters I would say, and the rest not really doing much with so far. And that's kind of where I am a little bit struggling with, is that when I look back, I don't really feel like the characters they've done too much with, but they spend a lot of time on the world. And so it might just be a matter of time. I have fears when I'm halfway through the show, and I only really know 2 characters, truly. But I based on how well they're doing things so far, I don't have a doubt that there's going to be some solid character building so far. So, yeah, I like it. I'm covering it weekly on YouTube, by the way.
Cool.
YouTube.com/TakuSpirit.
Yeah, I seen you making fun of the ranting about the
nobody died.
Yeah.
Nobody died. It was funny. It was funny. Anyways, that's Reign of the Seven Spellblades. Check that out if that's interesting to you. Classroom for Heroes, or Eiyu Kyoshitsu. This one is streamed on Crunchyroll for 12 episodes, done by Actis. Light novels, a source, action fantasy, ecchi. Director is Keiichiro Kawaguchi, who did Spy Classroom and Higurashi Go and Sotsu. And this one follows, can you guess it, Chris? Blade. My name's Blade. Blade. I'm Blade, by the way.
I only watch it for Sophie and Ku anyway, so
you didn't watch it for
I could skip
not Edis. I got a kick out of Arnis when she was laying in her bed with her undies, and I'm like, she looks legit like Edis in that shot. You can't tell me they're not going for that. Anyways. Yeah, this is pretty much opens up with the hero defeating the Demon Lord, and then it cuts forward to this guy named Blade who's going to this hero academy, this academy for heroes, where they train the best of fighters and stuff to be the next heroes in case the Demon Lord shows up again. And yeah, we follow Blade, who's just super excited about not going to school or learning how to get strong. He just wants to meet friends. He wants 100 friends. So for an entire episode, we watch Blade as he runs around yelling at everybody, "Hey, I'm Blade. Be my friend. Hey, I'm Blade. Blade, I'm looking for friends. I'm Blade. What's up? I'm Blade. I'm looking for friends. Blade, friends." He was so like Asta levels from the first episode of Black Clover. Nearly dropped it because of it. Anyways, kind of find out, yeah, Blade is pretty much was the hero. After defeating the Demon Lord, pretty much lost his powers. Is also doesn't like the idea of he had the whole aspect of being the hero kind of put upon him. He didn't want to be the hero. Had a lot of bad experience with trying to save everybody, but then failing to save certain people and people hating him because he failed to save certain people. He just doesn't want to have anything to do with it no more. But he's going to the school for some reason because I don't know why he wouldn't just go to any other school. But no, he goes to the school for heroes in order to meet friends, when he could probably be better off going to a not hero school. That way he doesn't get involved in being the hero, which he apparently hates the idea of being the hero. But we'll put that aside. The king's running the place. Apparently he took over the academy from the president because the king wants to hang out with Blade or something. Really likes Blade. And yeah, Blade just meets different classmates, and yeah, they just eventually he finds out that there was an organization that was secretly trying to create a hero, like artificial heroes, and that's Sophie. So even though she was cloned from him and he feels bad about that, and she didn't have a childhood, she likes the idea of being Blade because she's seen everything that he did and acknowledges that he was a good dude. Ernest Flaming, she's got like the blade from the Demon Lord, if I remember correctly, that's got this Osmondanius flame demon dude in it that's trying to consume her. They show up with a dragon at some point, and Blade bombs it on the head, and then it impressions onto him as Ku, this little girl that's in love, that thinks Blade is his parent, and then this girl shows up that says that she's got Mao inside of her. So your thoughts? My thoughts too. I agree.
It's a stupid fun show. It's not doing anything special. I kind of want more from it, but at the same time, I can't. You can't. After you watch a few episodes of this show, you realize you ain't gonna get much more. It's just Blade walking around saving new girl of the week. Each and every girl is in some way, shape, or form way too freaking overpowered, and they can't control something about themselves, and he's got to be the savior of that girl in some way,
He
shape,
didn't
or
have
form.
to beat up Sophie. Liar. He had to beat up her heart.
Yeah, right.
Doki doki. Go on a date together. Dato.
Sophie's awesome. I love Sophie. No, it as it is right now, you really quickly will have to temper your expectations as you're going into this show. It's fun.
I don't know, honestly, because like this is like there's only like 3 shows that I didn't do first impressions on videos, and Classroom for Heroes is one of them, because I just don't know. Like every time I think about talking about this show, I legit don't know. And I think that's mainly because I don't think this show knows what it wants to be, or at least the writer doesn't know what they want this show to be, because it just feels like it's... Like, the first episode is just annoying. It's very juvenile. Blade screaming that he wants to meet friends over and over again. Then it gets into Arnis Flaming, and it seems like it's kind of trying to be serious, but it just kind of turns into just Blade being an overpowered main character, save the waifu. And then Sophie's episode happens, and it's like, okay, now we're getting into the dejected hero. The hero that society itself didn't deserve. And Blade himself being harmed by the expectations of people put on him that he never accepted to begin with. They said, you're the hero, go fight. Why didn't you fight hard enough? You failed us, that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, this is kind of getting heavy. Sophie's talking about all the achievements that she's seen in different towns that were saved by him that he's completely forgotten about. And it's like, okay, now we're trying to get serious. And then a dragon shows up and he bonks it, and he suddenly, my first baby shows up. Q's this little lolly that's running around saying that she wants Blade to feed her. And then it kind of turns into almost like a power friendship thing where everybody has to gather together to beat Q in order to be acknowledged by Q. And then it gets into Maria, and it tries to get a little bit emotional with her story at the very end. It's like, I don't know what this show's trying to be. It's just like action. Like, the animation's great. Like, when they go crazy with the show, I think this is like the most shocking animation of the entire season. Like, you guys are going way too wild with the animation here. Action, serious, ecchi, comedy. It's just all over the place. And I think at its core, I don't have anything here. Like, it's like in any separate moment of the show, it's like, okay, you're kind of doing something interesting here, or okay, that ecchi's pretty good, or okay, that's kind of funny. But then it as a whole, it's like, I don't even know what the show is, and I don't know how I feel about it. This is literally the cross change of the season.
Just wait until you get the centaur. And that is a lot of it. It's and that's what I kind of meant by, pretty much save a waifu per week. Every week, and some episodes it's 2 weeks that they're saving a waifu. There's just not enough impact for any of these particular situations to actually kind of make them into a moment where you go, man, that was a really great drama point. Because it never gets that heavy, and at the same time, the comedy never rises to a level where I can go, man, I just love it. This freaking so much comedy in this show that I can't even go, well, I see the jokes and I get the jokes. They're just not too funny. I can't even get to that point because the jokes are kind of so sparse. It's like, yeah, sometimes you get like my first baby is hungry all the time, but doesn't want anybody but Blade to feed her because she doesn't want to acknowledge the friends. And then we go, like Andrew was saying, the power of friendship. They went through this entire process of she wants to be friends with everybody, but she can't be friends with everybody because they have to beat her up first. Okay.
That's proof that they're equal with her, because they're below her. And that was the funny thing, because that's like a prime example there. The whole Sophie date was like just massive amounts of Arnis flaming ecchi. Like every 2 seconds, here's Arnis flaming either half or fully disclothed. And then suddenly out of nowhere, Sophie's having some heavy moment with him. And it's like, wait, oh, this show's serious now. Okay, hold on a second. Let me adjust myself. I didn't realize we're going to have a sudden brutal impact into a drama film. It's weird. Like I said, the main positive I can give it is that it's got some really good animation when it wants to. But besides Blade being really annoying at first, Ku kind of being annoying at first, I just don't really feel a sticking point for this show. I just don't really feel like it's got an actual focus or a value in there, despite every individual moment not being terrible. It's a surprise for me, and the idea of how much it should work, but it just doesn't. And I don't know why. Anyhow, that's Classroom for Heroes. Check that out. I don't see anybody talking about the show too. It's like this was a late starter too, but it's like the crickets around this show. Nobody cares. Tempuru. Let's talk about a show that everybody's watching. Tempuru or Temple. Tempuru, No One Can Live on Loneliness. Running on Crunchyroll for 12 episodes. Being done by Gekko. The web manga is the source. Comedy, romance, and you would not guess it, but ecchi. I know, shock. This one follows a guy named Akimitsu Akagami. And for the longest time when he was a kid, he looked up to his father as being the coolest dude ever. Until he actually grew up and found out that his father, who left him at a young age, it was just a womanizer. He just ran around and just got with a bunch of women and completely ruined his future, because every time Akagami went anywhere, got a job or tried to go to school or whatever, everybody knew. The moment they heard Akagami, his family name, they knew about his dad. And so it kind of just reflected badly on him. So he pretty much made his choice that he's just going to focus on his studies, don't get involved with any women, just focus on his study, and hopefully he can be successful enough that he won't have problems. Well, eventually he ends up bumping into a girl named Yuzuki, and he is just love struck at first sight. This girl was just gorgeous. And he's afraid that he has all these unpleasant thoughts, and he's like, crap, that's it. He goes back to school. He says, sorry guys, I gotta quit school for a little bit. I'm gonna basically become a monk. So he goes to this place to find a place to work as a monk, ends up going to this one temple, ends up finding out that it's actually a nunnery. And even though they accepted him in there, it's a nunnery full of women. And so as he goes to leave, this Yuzuki girl was one of the girls that was there. She talks him into coming back. And then she finally discovers what his name is and goes, oh, yeah, your father came to this temple and pretty much put the temple 20 million yen in debt. So you're going to work it off. And so now he's basically, despite the fact that it's a bunch of girls there, and some of the girls are trying to, blackmail him or whatever to get him to leave, because boys aren't supposed to be allowed here, and aspects about the keeping the temple open, dealing with the debt itself, the hope of one of them becoming an actual priest so that they can keep the temple open because it doesn't have a priest currently, and shenanigans ensues. Thoughts?
Can't stand Akagami.
That's for damn sure.
Freaking annoying.
That's for damn sure.
It's actually kind of funny because I have.
He's not the worst. He's not Titherer. He's not oblivious main character. He knows what he wants. He just doesn't want it.
Yeah,
which is kind of okay. He's still annoying.
I still think he's freaking obnoxious. He's obnoxiously
loud.
I actually find it amusing that I am in this weird place with Akagami because
Don't say you're in a weird place with the main character.
You're right.
Show.
This one, I actually really it is refreshing as far as the harems are concerned. I do really love it as a harem because I really love the girls. The girls are fantastic so far.
Who's your favorite so far?
I'm gonna have to say.
Don't say Yuzuki.
Tsukio. the one who was secretly
The first one, the one that blackmailed him right off the bat?
Yeah, because
Or are you talking about
she had the
Mia?
mama, right?
Mia was the one that was from the other erotic family.
Yeah, then it's Mia.
Yeah, I liked her story because I'm like, oh, well, it actually ties in with Akagami really well. And so now they're like super best friends because they're working together to fight their desires.
I do adore Yuzuki, though. I think she's absolutely adorable. I really like all the girls.
The archery was great. They're like,
she had built it all up as she looks so cool.
And she goes and shoots, and the arrow legit just like flings in the air and hits the ground right in front of her. And she's like, so cool. I actually laughed aloud.
Yeah,
really hard by that one. That was good.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
So the girls, I absolutely love the girls. I love the refreshing harem aspect of this because in this weird way, because I've talked to Andrew a few times about certain harems, and we had gotten into the conversation of harems with the protagonist who actually is actively pursuing the girls. I really do like the opposite of the ditherer. I really like the character who it effectively is the entire show saying, haha, I see what you like there. I see it here too. I love it. And so, in a way, he's kind of that.
Whatever happened to Trinity 7?
I know, right? Bring me back some Trinity 7.
What happened with Trinity 7? We had like a My First Baby arc, then they did some weird like book arc, and then it was like done.
So in a way, I do kind of like Akagami, but at the same time, like I said, he's just so freaking obnoxious with the, oh, I can't touch because I'm going to be a celibate for the rest of my life. Okay, good for you, but stop yelling about it.
It's like Kentaro Oe, but graining. Like Kentaro Oe was always Kentaro Oe. Was it Oe? The guy from Golden Boy.
Oh yeah,
he was always like over the top in his head. I totally could see it. He was so over the top in his head, but he wasn't annoying, like screamy. Like Akagami is just screamy, yelling constantly, and yes, constantly trying to hide from it. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
So in some respects, I do really like this show, but in other respects, mainly one is Akagami. I really hate Akagami. So it's really frustrating. I really kind of just wish they would kind of tone that down, and figure out a way to kind of incorporate. Yes, I get that he is trying to fight for the idea of,
enlightenment, Chris.
But not make it as obnoxious on the, boobies are all over the place and I can't handle this because I will lose it right now. And yeah.
It felt like the recent episode was like the most chill on it, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he is literally the weakest link of the show, and really sucks because he's technically the driver. Like he's literally driving the story. He's driving each of the segments. It's very rarely that it's kind of more focused on the characters outside of his presence. And I really do enjoy it outside of his presence. One that we really do have that. I have enjoyed whenever Akagami is with Mia. Like I said, they technically do sort of jive with each other, both having the same desire of enlightenment. But yeah, I think for the most part, it is a return to an old style of harem ecchi comedies. The idea of the guy just suddenly just having this building full of girls just placed upon him, and it just focusing purely on that dumb ecchi comedy around each of the characters. It's sort of refreshing in that regard. It's not the best looking show. They do put the attention to detail when it's needed. We'll just say that. When it needs to get close up with the girls and there's a lack thereof of clothing, it's going to put that effort in there. For the most part, it's not a great looking show. The comedy beats, whenever they do get a little silly, like the whole thing with Yuzuki shooting the arrow off, they really nailed the expression of the characters, kind of doing like a partial chibi look style to them to really accent the joke itself. So they put the effort in here and there really well whenever it needs it, but it's not like the best looking show, and that's often required for a show that's mostly about hot girls losing clothes half the time. I don't know. I did like Tsukuyo's episode. I did like I said, I really did like Mia's episode. Tying in, I think it was Mia and Yuzuki was great. Getting into the whole stuff with the marriage arrangement thing in order to keep the temple open, or at least the facade that she's got, that Yuzuki has a fiance that is an actual priest in order to keep the place open. It's like they get into that stuff and it's like, I don't really care. Get back to shenanigans. So like overall, it's like it's a lot better than most dumb ecchi comedies. But at the same time, I won't say that this show has made me laugh out loud a lot. And that's the big problem, because I mean, if I'm going to come to it for ecchi comedy, I need at least some funnies. So that's kind of the only downer, is the fact that it's just not that funny. And I think a lot of the jokes is around Akagami's reactions, and I don't find Akagami funny. So that's the problem that it kind of faces. Kuragi's great though. Little sister's great. She's like a little devil. My sister's actually like a closet pervert. Yeah, it's got a solid cast though. I mean, I've been enjoying it for the most part, but yeah, that's Tempuru. Check that out. That's interesting to you. Dark Gathering, streaming on High Dive, running for 25 episodes. There's leaks saying that apparently they've already fully adapted it, so hopefully no delays. But 2 whole cores with this one. Studio is OLM. Sources of manga. Genres are horror, supernatural. Director is Eki Hata Hiroshi, who did Magical Destroyers, Tonikawa, and Magical Circle Guru Guru. Series composition by Shigeru Murokoshi, who did Kakuguri Twins, Gymnastic Samurais, and Zombieland Saga. I was going to say Saga Tanya the Evil. Anyways, I apparently am dyslexic now. But yeah, this one follows a guy named Keitaro Gintoga, who early on in his life was unfortunately involved in an accident with the supernatural. It seemed like he was really into the supernatural when he was younger, but apparently at some point he ended up getting his best friend at the time, involved in an incident, and it left them both, her really injured and him cursed. And then we jump forward in time and we find out that at some point after him being locked up in his room for a period of time because of the whole incident, a friend of his, Eiko, showed up and kind of helped him study, even though he wanted to stay shut in. She kind of came in there and helped him study, get back on his feet, get the courage to finally go in and do his exams, and he passed. So he really, really greatly appreciates her helping him out, and the two of them are going to go off to college together. Well, he also enlists to become a tutor as a kind of a side job, and come to find out, his place where he's supposed to do the tutoring is at Eiko's house. But it's not for her. It's for her cousin, Yayoi, who's staying there. And when he first meets Yayoi, he quickly realizes there's like a presence coming off of this little girl. This little cute little girl standing there with his doll in her hands. And he's like, there's some nasty aura coming off of her. Because he can sense the supernatural. And come to find, and she kind of notes that he's looking at this doll that's in her hands. And she's like, oh, sorry about that. And she starts choking the doll. And you hear this screeching coming from it because it's got a spirit inside of it, and she's just sitting there strangling the spirit right in front of him. And he's like, okay, this is not good. Why does this girl have this doll and everything? Anyhow, what kind of transpires following this is that Yayoi, knowing that Keitaro sort of has this curse about him and that he seems to draw bad spirits to himself, she wants to pretty much have him tag along with her as she goes out with Eiko to find different supernatural occurrences nearby. Like they had this phone booth that apparently some lady was murdered inside of, and so everybody every now and then when they come to that phone booth, they can hear the voices of the fallen spirit or whatever. And they keep going out to these different locations, and Keita doesn't want to have anything to do it, but he just kind of keeps being dragged, like thrown in the back of the car by Eiko and Yayoi and just dragged off to some place with supernatural things. Now, here's where we get to the actual story itself. The deeper story here is that, yes, on one hand, you have Keitaro having this cursed hand because he got involved with the spirit when he was younger. Yayoi's a lot more in depth. Yayoi, when she was very young, she had this oddity about her eyes. They noticed that she had 2 pupils. In the show, you'll see that her art style has like her regular pupil, and then it has like a skull pupil in the middle of it. She has 2 pupils. And if she focuses just right, she'll see the land of the dead. And if she doesn't focus, she'll see the land of the living. Well, at some point, she was in a car accident with her mom and dad, and she regained consciousness after the accident. her dad was dead, but her mother was being dragged off by this massive ghost that was impregnating her to birth what looked like a gigantic spirit baby, and there was like demon tadpoles coming at it. It looked really weird. But after the accident, she was able to see both the living and the dead at the same time. And as she goes to visit her father's grave, she's always able to see her father's spirit, but she's never able to see her mother's spirit. So she's trying to essentially figure out a way to kill that spirit and reclaim her mother. In order to do this, she needs power. And what Yayoi has figured out in order to gain this power is that she's essentially taking spirits hostage. What she'll do is she'll go out and she'll fight a spirit, typically using salt and stuff like that, or different tricks to capture the spirit within a doll. Then she'll take that doll, bring it back to her room, which is pretty much it's her command center. We'll just call it that. You open up her door, and there's dolls all over the walls that are all possessed by spirits. And she'll throw the spirit into the middle of the room, and she'll say, that's the thing that hurts y'all. Because if she takes damage while she's out there, she has a pact with all these spirits, and they'll take the damage for her. So she'll come back home and say, oh, I got hurt earlier, which hurt you. This is the thing that did it. She'll throw the doll in the middle of the room, and all the spirits will come in and start shredding at the spirit. And then she'll stop them and say, okay, do you want me to save you? And the spirit's like, yeah, heck yeah, all these other spirits are ripping me up. She's like, okay. She'll take a typically a fingernail clipping, and she'll stick it inside the doll, and that makes the pact with it. So if she ever takes damage, that doll will take damage. Now here's the cool thing. Why doesn't the room full of spirits just kill her? Because she has a pact with all of them. They all have her fingernail clippings. So if she gets hurt, they get hurt. So if one of these dolls decide, we need to kill this chick, and comes after them, it'll harm all of them, so they keep each other in check. They don't want the other spirit to attack her, because then they'll get hurt. So it becomes like this essentially forced control over all these spirits. And she wants to gain this big, massive army of spirits that she can go and take out this one spirit that has her mother. It's really interesting in that regard. That's a long explanation to say. Eventually, at some point, Keitaro is told by Yayoi, I can help remove your curse. We end up finding out that Echo's cursed as well. Yayoi tells him that she can help remove that curse, but he's got to help her, get together enough spirits so they can go kill the spirit that's cursed him, and then hopefully she'll gain enough to save her mom as well. So there's kind of a mutual agreement between the two of them, all the while Echo just wants to be with Keitaro and really likes Keitaro. She really, really, really likes Keitaro.
I'm guessing I know which one's the yandere.
Okay. That was funny because they had one episode where she had this command post on their laptop, which basically had his heart rate, a camera on the glasses that she let him borrow. She has all this GPS and everything set up to know exactly where he's at. Anyways, so my thoughts on Dark Gathering. I will say I'm mixed on the style of the show. I think they are absolutely nailing the horror. This is like Miroku-chan. Miroku-chan, when that show came out, I mean, despite the aspects of the ecchi and stuff like that some people were off put by, it really nailed that suspense and that horror that anime can do if they just try. Anime often sometimes just gets too caught up in just being over the top, or just every character's crazy and whoa, this is scary, right? They're absolutely nailing exactly what Miroku-chan did, where it feels so unsettling. Like I said, that first meeting of Yayoi, and she's strangling this thing, and it has this unsettling screaming that's happening. It's very small screaming. Even equally later on, just every time they have this run-in with different types of spirits and stuff like that, the phone booth, when they walk up to it and suddenly smack on the wall, there's this blood handprint, and then suddenly smoosh, there's this face, and then suddenly the face's smile change, even though it's supposed to be a blood splatter. They're really nailing that unsettlingness, the screaming and the sound effects and the ghosts themselves really is pulling that off. They have this whole segment where they're watching this video, and it's one of those, if you watch it, you become part of the curse kind of thing. And then at some point, Keitaro realizes that he's in the video and he's being burned alive. It's doing a really good job of that, and I think it's a lot to do with the sound effects and the screeches and the audio that's going on with the show. But I will admit that I'm not like 100% a fan of the style because it almost has like has almost like a kid's show type of style of the character designs, even though I really do like Yayoi's design in the end. Like I'm just sold on Yayoi as a whole. I think she's a fantastic character. I can't say that I'm 100% on board with the style itself, but it has grown on me. And it's not like the most visually beautiful show all the time. It has its rough points. It's not going bombastic with the animation, but it still portrays the scenes well enough that I'm not bothered by it. But I can admit that sometimes, like with the baby gathering goddess, the whole segment, it was like that looked a little rough. Like a bunch of ghost babies and stuff wasn't really doing that well. Yeah, there's ghost babies. But yeah, for the most part, like when it needs it to make that unsettling setup and the sound and everything, it's pulling it off. It's just this show can be so unsettling at times. Now, the story is where I'm really hooked, and a lot that has to do with Yayoi. As you can tell by how much explanation I did to her little setup, Yayoi makes this show. I'm not a fan of Katoro. He's just I don't want to be involved with this, but I'm keep getting involved with it. I don't want to be involved with this, but I keep getting involved with it. It seems like his character has finally changed after like 5 or 6 episodes. He finally seems like he's on board. But Yayoi sells the show for me because it's how she handles every situation. She is still a child. Now, granted, there's times where like she takes this big old crowbar and hits something over the head, and it's like, okay, kid doing that, fine. She's powerful because she's not only clever, like she's very knowledgeable about how to control these spirits, but she's terrifying and twisted with how she handles the spirits. Like there's this whole segment where they're trying to hunt down like 8 spirits. One of the spirits has somebody possessed, and Yayoi wants to find out which one of these dolls that has a spirit in it is possessing the ones she's trying to help. So she takes this knife and stabs one of the dolls and says, "Tell me which one is you." And then she's trying to get she's trying to get the other ones to tell her to rat on the one that's possessing him. And then they lie. And so she stabs him again. It is so great how it turns into literally she's torturing them into forcing them to rat each other out while at the same time being perfectly clear, I'm going to kill you. You best show me which one it is. Like it literally turns into this whole thing like it's the bad cop. Like she's literally like every time she deals with the spirits, she's the bad cop in the interrogation room. And every time it gets in those little segments, it's pure genius. Like I absolutely eat up every moment of it. It's easily turning out to be like the most entertaining segments of any show this season is whenever Yayoi gets dead serious and she's just pushing these spirits and she's doing these horrible things, but you're like, but they're just evil spirits, so it's not like anybody cares that she's torturing these things. Like I said, that first time she went back to that room and threw the goddess statue's finger, like she broke the statue of this finger of this goddess that she got beat up with. She throws the finger in the room and you see all the spirits ripping at it, and she goes, "Do you want me to save you?" And she says, "Beg." She literally tells this dude, because the finger gets up and starts spelling out yes. And she's like, "Beg me." And then the spirit's like, "Okay, I'm sorry, please save me." It's like, she's so twisted. I love it. She's like this little girl and she's just like manipulating spirits. It's super good. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to more. The only thing I forgot to get into, the only thing I'm not really 100% on board with is Eiko. I don't know. I hate the pumpkin face. I really don't like the pumpkin face. But yeah, people really like yandere characters. Definitely check out the show. Dark Gathering. Looking forward to. I'm glad it's a 2-core. I'm really hoping it. And everybody keeps saying it gets darker and darker and darker, so I can't wait. Yeah. Zom100. Let's talk about a show that's not dark. Zom100, Bucket List of the Dead, or Zom100 Zombie ni Naru Mare ni Shitai 100 no Koto. This show is airing in the winter 2024 anime season because I'm sure this is going to get delayed. It's streaming on every single platform: Crunchyroll, Hulu, Netflix. I think it's on. What was it? Whirlpool refrigerators. I think they have on them there too. Bug Films is working on it. Unfortunately, Source is a manga. Genres are action, comedy, horror, supernatural, suspense. And yeah, this one follows Akira Tendo. He's working for a black company. For those who don't know, it's basically a company that works you 24/7, exploits the hell out of you, doesn't let you have any time off. He used to play rugby when he was in college, and he was looking really forward to working at this company, and then ends up just working 24/7 with them, not getting barely any time off, and he's nearly to the point of just being dead. There's a girl at the work that he has a crush on early on, and she apparently is banging the boss, and just everything's going to crap. And then out of nowhere, one day, come to find out, zombie apocalypse. Everybody's getting eaten. And so he's super happy about this because now he doesn't have to go to work. And instead, he can do everything that he wanted to do before he got involved in a black company. So he made a list of 100 things that he wants to do before he becomes a zombie. And eventually he meets this girl who's like this super, like all about the numbers of survivability and stuff like that. She has a list, but it's 100 things to do. What was it? 100 things to do without getting turned into a zombie.
To
not become a zombie.
Yeah, something like that.
And then he finally runs into his old friend that he had a falling out with because he was jealous about how well his friend was doing. He helps him, saves him from a certain love hotel, and they start hanging out together. And yeah, I think we've only had like, what, 5 episodes? Keeps getting delayed. Another delay next week, by the way, spoiler. But it's a broadcast, special broadcast. It's not their fault this time. But yeah, I really do feel like this show's going to get delayed. Your thoughts?
I am absolutely loving this show so far. The first episode was absolutely brilliant. I love how the directing absolutely kind of, as the show starts off, it's kind of all bright and colorful, and then it slowly kind of dwindles into this almost monochromish view where all the saturation and coloring had kind of just drained from the show. And then the zombie apocalypse happens, and suddenly there's this kind of shifting point, and then all of a sudden it becomes bright and colorful, blood everywhere, and it's all the blood is in different colors and all over the place, and he's just got this big old massive smile while he's running down, and it absolutely worked for me. It was brilliant. Every episode since then I've actually found a lot of fun in this. It's very much changing a lot of the formula that I've seen for a lot of the zombie type film or shows, where each one of them is doing kind of their own little twist on the zombie apocalypse. This one in particular is kind of just grasping at fun and living and stuff like that. And I really do I just really like it. The last episode, who would have thought of a shark outfit for protecting yourself from the zombies? I'm absolutely putting that on my list of things that I need to do in the zombie apocalypse. So yeah, I love it. I think it's brilliant.
I thought you were going to say, who would have thought of a shark with legs? I'm like, Junji Ito. Gershunk. Yeah, this show is like, directing's amazing. Like, they're doing a really good job with the directing on this show, and a lot of the animation scenes are really fantastic. And it's something that they're not really letting up on too much. I mean, besides the second episode just being second episode made me very fearful of the show because it just seemed like it was a lot of reused animations. They introduced the OP in that episode, and it was just mostly shots from the first episode. I have a lot of fear for this show animation wise, but it seems like every episode they release is top notch. So it's kind of one of those cases where it's like, okay, this is one of those rare cases where I'm okay with you delaying it because when you come back, it looks good. I don't like this idea that you delay a week and then you come back and it's not looking like it deserved that wait period. But I am very fearful of the show, and then technically, apparently, Shaft, who of course is on the production committee for it, they were involved with the production of one of the episodes. So it is kind of all over the place on how Bug Films is planning on finishing this show. So yes, my fears right now is that I don't think this show is going to end the season. That's not a bad thing as long as they keep the quality up, and when they deliver the episodes, it works out. That aside, the show itself, I don't I wasn't a huge fan of the second episode. While I do like the introduction of Suzuka, I like that contrasting difference between how she views things and Tendo does, and the idea that she is a prepper, whereas he's literally, I just want to go have fun. I've been locked up long enough. I don't need to be locked up for the apocalypse too, where she's kind of just grab stuff that she needs and lock up and protect herself. Analyzing versus just going just ballistic crazy and have fun. I will say that while I had my issue with that second episode, I think it just kind of came back with a really fantastic third episode and the fourth episode, and I've pretty much liked all the episodes since then. And like I said, when the action kicks in, it's really on point, and it's just the amount of work being done by the directing side of things that's just really crazy perspective shots and just all over the place with the camera angles. They're really doing a fantastic job of portraying what essentially is just a dumb apocalypse show, and that's something that I think both anime and zombies is just prime for. This is like, I don't really want to say that, but I almost want to say like it's a Shaun of the Dead version of anime, or probably a lot of people would probably say, I didn't never watched it, but I've seen clips of it. The zombie, is it Zombieland? The Western zombie, was that Zombieland the movie?
Yeah, I want to say so, yeah.
Where it's just about just going out and it's just dumb violence and stuff with zombies. And I think that kind of is the apt area to put it in, just because it's all about Akira Tendo just wanting to have fun. Scratch off things off his bucket list and just have fun. I've read a little bit into the later segments in the manga, just because I was trying to find out what was going on with this controversy around the mangaka wanting to quit writing the manga. And I will say that another thing that kind of adds to my fear of them actually adapting this season is because this manga at least doesn't let up. Like it's kind of one of those ones where it's just take the characters, bring them to the next location, and then shenanigans happens. Okay, next location, shenanigan happens. And it seems like every bit that you would see within an episode is going to be action-packed. So this show is just not going to let up. And I do like that. It's kind of like in the wake of things like High School of the Dead, just obviously never going to be coming back because RIP, the mangaka. I really do like this show's presence. I like that it's doing so well. I like that it's got popularity because we don't get zombie shows often.
Right.
Like the last one was probably School Live, and then before then was probably High School of the Dead.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like 3 or 4 year breaks between zombie shows. And it's so weird because anime is so prime for it, and it's unfortunate. But we have Zom100, so again, like I said before, I have fears about it surviving, but at the same time, I want it to keep this quality, so I will be patient with it. But so far, it's just been kind of just goofy fun, and it's been pulling it off so far. So I'm looking forward to more of it. So yeah, Zom100, check that out if that's interesting to you. Bungo Stray Dogs 5th season. I'm not going to talk too much about this. Apparently, it's going to be running for 11 episodes. I'm already technically like 6 into it, so it's not going to be much longer. This season so far, I was pretty hot on season 4. I was really loving it. I have to admit that season 5, the big reveal they had in this season, I'm still not sure if I like it. Like, the moment they pretty much revealed the big bad, and I'm like, really? And then like the fights, while epic with the big bad, has always been kind of like, I like it, but I don't like this aspect about it. There's this gimmick that the big bad does, and it's like it's kind of making it repetitive, but it's still hitting. Like it's still like the writing, the characters, and everything are super fantastic. I'm trying to figure out if I'm okay with the big bad, and I still haven't figured it out yet. But it's still hitting, and I really can't talk about any about it without spoiling it to so many people. So I'll just say I still love Bungo Stray Dogs. It still has one of the best cast of characters that all have fantastic writing, and I will scream it to the rooftops until more people watch it, because it's literally one of the best long-running shows in a long time. So anyways, that's my TED Talk. Very quick TED Talk for Bungo Stray Dogs 5. I might make another... I have been doing some videos on the show. I took a break for a few weeks. I might do some more videos on it, so if you want to get my take on the show, I am doing full discussions on that with my videos for it. So Helck, streaming on High Dive. Another one running for 24 episodes. Apparently, High Dive locking in those 2 cores. Done by Studio Satellite. Source of the web manga. Genres are action, fantasy, comedy, adventure. And this one takes place shortly after the Demon Lord, the big Demon Lord. Apparently, there's more than one Demon Lord in this world. The big Demon Lord got taken down by the hero, and as the demons are sort of trying to figure out some way of appointing the next Demon Lord, they're having this big tournament, and the tournament's going on, and then we cut to Vermilio, who's one of these high-ranking generals. She goes to talk to Han, who is basically running the tournament, and she's like, "All right, give me an update on what's all going on with this tournament." And Han's like, "All right, cool. Here, I'll show you. Here's all the contestants." And then eventually, at some point, Vermilla goes, "Wait, why is there a human in the tournament?" And he's like, "Well, there was no stipulations against humans being a part of the tournament." And she's like, "Who is this guy?" He's like level 99 human named Helck, like literally legit, like a hero. He's literally hero class. And so she's like freaking out. Why the hell did you let a hero human into a tournament for the next Demon Lord? And he's like, that's fine. We'll figure out a way to get him kicked out. And so they start to kind of devise ways of getting him disqualified from the tournament by not having it about strength, because none of them are going to be able to beat a level 99 human hero status. So they're doing things like stacking cards and races on mounts and stuff like that in order to get him kicked out. Eventually, while they're doing all this stuff, an attack comes upon the demon realm. There's these winged individuals showing up out of nowhere, and they completely take out this castle and take out another demon lord over there. And so one of the other generals pretty much tells Vermilio, okay, you have this problem with trusting Helck. Everybody loves Helck, by the way. This is the guy that gets on the microphone and goes, "Yeah, death to all humans. You guys are great. I love being with you demons. You demons are great." And Vermilio just constantly thinks that they're just lying, that he's lying. So eventually this guy goes, look, here's a good way of testing him. Take the remaining people of the tournament, which was like 5 at this point. Helck, Hyora, Kenros, and Duroshi. Take them and go to the castle and reclaim it from those winged individuals. And if Helck, they're assuming these are humans, and if Helck betrays you, you'll know that he can't, be trusted. But if he ends up helping you, he's going to knock those dudes out, and then we get our castle back. So she goes in as disguised as An from management, and goes with the rest of them to go to reclaim the castle and test Helck's trustworthiness. And then they get sucked into a portal and sent to the human realm. And Anne's trying to get back with Helck. I'm sorry, Anne from management. Thoughts?
I find this show weirdly charming. There's something about Helck that I just kind of want to see. I want to know if he really is a good guy or
You see Conan the Barbarian?
He's practically like Conan the Barbarian, yeah.
A really dumb Conan the Barbarian, but super heavy heart, like a massive heart.
I just love it. It's working in so many ways. I absolutely love Vermilio. She is just freaking awesome.
I have to say that I think like a lot of people's enjoyment of this show is around, do you like Vermilio or don't you? Because especially early on, it's literally react comedy around her. It's her constantly going, "You idiots! What the hell's wrong with you?" And blowing up towers because she's like this salamander. So every time she gets mad, she just produces this massive explosion. So Han's always there going, calm down. Okay, barriers up. Okay, good, I'm good.
But yeah, I right now like I said, I find this show just oddly charming. Vermilio got me through the front door, but I do kind of like Helck. He's just weirdly, I just like him. He works, and so I just keep wanting to see where the story is going to go.
You like that laugh. You like his laugh.
His laugh. That's what it is.
He got that. And then she says baka.
She says baka.
And then she says baka. I think that's a good way of putting the show. It's got it's got charm. Like, it's super charming in a lot of regards. But yeah, I will say, like, the earlier segments was all about react comedy around Vermilio, and I loved it. I ate up every minute of it. She's the same seiyuu that did Fujimiya, I think her name was, from Uncle from Another World. She was the nerdy childhood friend of the main guy, which just totally makes sense. Like, poor girl was just messing up her vocal cords for those first few episodes of Helck because she was just constantly screaming at the top of her lungs, and I loved every minute of it. Literally, On from management sold me on this show early on. But yeah, I do agree. What kind of captured me after just loving On's character is that shift into it being not about the whole thing of trying to mess up the overpowered guy from being able to win the tournament, but it was more that aspect that behind the scenes you had this mystery. Who is Helck? Very quickly they establish there's a wanted poster there because they're looking into his hometown. And so this person goes to the human realm and goes to his hometown, and it's empty. But it looks like people were there mere minutes before. It's just like everybody vanished. There's still food on the tables and stuff like that. Nothing looks dusty. It's all clean. Everybody disappeared. And there's a wanted poster for Helck, apparently claiming that Helck killed his brother, who was the hero that took down the Demon Lord. So, like, who the hell is this Helck guy?
Right.
He killed the hero, so maybe he's trustworthy, but why would he be here? Why is he in the demon realm? Nobody wants to be in the demon realm. The reason why the demons wanted to leave the demon realm, the area of it, is because there's this miasma or whatever that's there, this toxin that if it builds up in certain areas, it creates monsters, it can kill people, it can even kill demons. That's why they have to stay within these barriers. So it's not a good land. So why is Helck coming here? Well, because apparently he's wanted. But wait, where's all the people? Who's going to chase him out of the human realm? Okay, now suddenly there's these winged individuals. Why are they flying around? There was so much of this mystery in the background. And also, yeah, the massive question mark was this big, lovable teddy bear that literally is having fun with one of his, like this guy that's one of the other finalists, Kenros. They're like super buddies. They're like behind the scenes. They're playing around because Kenros wants to see this picture that Helck has of him and his brother, and they're playing games and stuff like that. It's like these people Helck is so lovable. Can he be trusted? Is a massive question mark. And it being so much from the perspective of the demons, you kind of start rooting for the demons themselves. So obviously you want this overpowered human to join them. So it's creating that question mark. It's got a lot of mystery in the background that I'm really curious. But yeah, like the main key thing being, and even when they got to that point where they confronted these winged individuals that they're assuming as humans, the question mark comes, is Helck going to help them or betray them? It's doing such a great job of that. And even after following that, I still don't know. So it's pulling that off. I love the characters so far. Helck is a big, massive teddy bear. Vermilio is turning out to be like one of my favorite female characters of the season. I just absolutely love her, even though she cut her hair.
Freaking stupid.
Every
cutting
time.
the hair.
She still looks cute, though. Han was okay. I got most of a kick out of the fact that he's just constantly afraid of Vermilio.
Han is only funny because of his voice actor.
Yeah. Hyora is kind of like the straight man character. Like, she's the most level-headed out of all of them. Like, she just wants to get the job done. She just wants to be Demon Lord. She doesn't care what's going on around her. Thinks everybody's crazy. Kenros is an absolute idiot. He's just a goofball. He's an absolute goofball.
is probably the one that annoys me the most.
Second. He's got second place for me.
Really?
Doroshi's not bad. He's just, I got his joke, and it was kind of funny the first time, but I don't really care. Like, he's just there. No. Azudora. I hate him. He's Kirito.
It's his voice.
And he's got the screaming, and he's the I'm constantly coughing out blood character. He's like All Might from My Hero Academia, constantly yelling and blood's flying out of his mouth. He's constantly dying. And I absolutely hate that. And plus, yes, add the fact that it's Kirito's voice and he's screaming all the time. It's screaming Kirito voice. He's probably the only character I don't like. I think he's the most clever of, like, progressing the story because he's the one that kind of goes, oh yeah, by the way, I brought Helck here. And oh, by the way, I think Helck's a good guy because he didn't actually hurt me. I fell in my own traps. That's why he's dying. He literally fell in his own traps. But he's the one that's proposing all these options that are really technically working out for the better, but I still don't like him. But yeah, overall, really, really love the show. It's not a perfect show. Like, it does have its dry points. There is a point here and there that's really kind of a dry point. But I think as long as it's got Vermilio and Helck, I think that's the core thing that's really making it work for me. Either if it's these moments where Vermilio is just freaking out about a situation, or it's about the chemistry that's now suddenly coming into play between the two of them, that I think is absolute gold. And if they keep at this, I think it could turn out to be a really, really fantastic episode or show. 24 episodes. Yeah, I like this segment where Hiyora figures out really quickly that on from management is actually Vermilio. And so she's constantly trying to pay her respect with how she talked to her. And then Vermilio's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm on from management. And by the way, don't give me nicknames. I hate that. And she walks away. She has this really bad thing about people giving her nicknames, which, yes, is partly the fault of Azadora, because he keeps calling her Vami-chan or something like that. She hates nicknames so bad. I like the fact that she cut her hair and Azadora stole some of the hair, and then she literally set him on fire through the hair because she didn't want him to have it. He's like, please don't cut your hair. It's precious. He couldn't see. That's why you don't mind Azadora, because you are equally as mad about her cutting her hair as Azadora.
That's what it was.
So you're like, I feel you, guy. I feel you, man. I understand. But then he gets set on fire. And yeah, technically the other girl did.
Sounds
but that was
too much like Beetlejuice. I mean,
it is. It's legit because it's Kirito. They're the same voice. I was wondering about that though, because there was a character in Bleach here recently that sounded like Beetlejuice, whatever. Might be Kirito's voice. Anyways, yeah, I'm loving it. Very charming, really funny at times, decently animated, and I'm surprisingly curious about the actual world and stuff and what's going on behind the scenes. Synduality Noir is our next one, being restreamed on Disney Plus and Hulu, running for 12 episodes, done by 8-Bit. Mixed media project. I think they're making a game out of it. Sci-fi action is the genres. And of course, the interesting thing behind this one is Hajime Kamoshida is working on the writing for it, or the creator of it. And they did Bunny Girl Senpai, Just Because, and Sakura-sao. So, quite a stretch because the show is about sci-fi mechas and mecha-infused AI girls. Anyways, it opens up with Kanata, and he's in these ruins with his friend Tokyo. Eventually, he stumbles upon a sleeping android hot chick named Noir. He snatches her up, and they run and flee from a bunch of monsters that are attacking them. They get back home. Come to find out, this girl that he found is, in fact, what they call a magus, which is these AI individuals that showed up at some point because mankind was being attacked by these monsters, and these AIs showed up, and they use the AIs to power up their mechas they ride, and they can fight against the monsters.
Okay.
But yeah, he's really bad. Kanata really badly wants to be what they call a drifter. He's been trying to get a good group or whatever, but he never had a magus to help him out. But yeah, he wants to become a drifter, which drifters basically go out, they hunt the monsters to get rid of them or protect the cities from the monsters, and they go out and they scavenge areas and gain resources from civilization that has been long lost. But yeah, that's Synduality Noir so far. Yeah, first of all, I really do like how they've realized this world. It's like 2222, like it's near future, but it's future enough kind of thing. And it feels like a realized world. Like, just when they go back to the town and they immediately hit that entry point where they have to sell their goods they got from outside, and then they have everybody's kind of gathered around this thing where they give the money out. They go into the areas, they have the bars and stuff, they're making artificial food, and then there's these little freezers where they actually have produce that's actually real, but it's super expensive. It's got like a, I wouldn't say cyberpunk, but it has an aesthetic that's similar to that's being really pulled off here. Like, definitely not to the levels of what they did with Cyberpunk Edge Runners, but it gives you a general sense, like just the tip of the iceberg of that. That's sort of what they're pulling off here. I think it's a really well realized world. Outside of that, I'm not too sure. It's okay. Like, the chemistry between the characters is good so far. It is kind of that whole area with, like, Kanata being like very inexperienced, but now he's got this hot android girl with him. He's got the childhood friend Ellie, who's super jealous of him having this, noir girl with him, but then realizes it's a magus, so obviously it's okay. She's constantly pursuing him. You got Tokyo, who's like super best bro. He's this guy that's always been taking care of Kanata, showing him the how to do the drifting work and stuff like that. Always looking out for him. It's got, each episode does enough to keep it interesting, but I'm not too sure so far if I like the overall plot line. At its core, it's obviously that, who is Noir? How can we unlock her memories? Because it's obvious that she doesn't remember anything. It seems like she's special somehow. If they fully, essentially sync with their Magus, they can then have the Magus actually shoot spells out of the mecha, which is interesting. But it's so far, the main core story has turned out to be Noir is essentially a special type of Magus. Like, they were called like Magus Zeros or something like that. So obviously everybody's going to want to now steal Noir. And Kanata's got to sort of keep her from being stolen, while at the same time try to find out ways to unlock her memories. And I'm sure that eventually we'll find out those memories unlock some crazy conspiracy or some cache of amazingness. Some core element of what happened in the past or something like that. I don't know. She's going to be the secret to unlocking the history of mankind. I don't know. But yeah, I think what's kind of carrying me on through the show so far is the CGI isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, the PVs didn't make it out to look that good, but the CGI is not that bad. I think so far what's kind of keeping me going is that it's got a very realized world. I like the aesthetic of it, and the chemistry between the characters is decent. I do like Tokyo and his relationship with Kanata, is that like bro kind of relationship. I think Ellie is cute. Some of the side characters they run into so far, I don't really care so much for. I did like the bodacious girl that ends up taking advantage of Kanata, and Tokyo totally knew it was going to happen. They had this other guy there was like this one district, or this one area that you can go to that's like a red light district basically, and Tokyo brings him there in order to, obviously get rid of his first time. And then he just goes in this waiting room area, and there's this guy that's just like talking about the stupidest, broadest stuff as they're waiting to go inside. And it's like, what is even the point of this? Some of the stuff is really just kind of pointless feeling, but for the most part, it's been an enjoyable series so far. I mean, I'm not gonna push anybody to check it out, but it's not been the worst of the season, which sucks because most people have to get quite a push in order to go watch something on Disney. No, Hulu or Disney Plus. But yeah, Synduality Noir. Check that out. Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence is our next one. Shiro Seijo Tokuro Bokushi. This one is being done by Studio Dogakobo, based on a 4-comic manga. Genres are comedy, fantasy, romance. Sumie Noto is the director who did Sleepy Princess. That makes a lot of sense now. Serious competition by Yuka Yamada, who did Slow Loop and Nana Biori. Go figure, the directors, a Sleepy Princess and a Sleepy Saint. She's not that sleepy. She's just lazy. She likes to slouch. Anyways, the show that was supposed to air in the spring, but Aniplex being Aniplex delayed it. But yeah, this one follows a pastor named Pastor Lawrence, obviously. And he is running this one church in a small village. Apparently, at some point in his past, he was walking down the street. And he ended up bumping into or finding this saint, which her name was Cecilia. And he brings her into the church and takes care of her. It was pretty much drilled into his head when he was younger by his grandfather, I think it was, that pastors, their role is to take care of the saints, protect the saints, so that the saints could protect the people. Because yes, at some point in the past, saints started appearing, which were these girls that were pretty much given these divine blessings upon them to give protection to the people. And so every town obviously wants one of these saints because they'll protect the town from disasters and stuff like that. And so, yes, he keeps Cecilia, takes care of her, protects her, and goes about his daily routine taking care of the church itself and the people. And yeah, Cecilia bestows her presents to everybody that shows up, gives counseling to little kids when they're having problems, and just make sure that she's as pretty as possible so that when everybody leaves, she can slouch again. Eventually, we have the appearance of Abel, who was somebody that went to school with Lawrence, and he shows up, and we get a little insight into the fact that, yeah, apparently it seems like Lawrence has something special about him. He draws spirits and fairies of all kinds. Yes, angels, fairies, and even demons are drawn to him. And so Cecilia is constantly having to put protections upon him to keep him safe. And apparently Abel used to do that when he was in school. At some point Lawrence gets sick, and then they realize because Cecilia has put in so many layers of protection on him, apparently it makes him sick. But that kind of pushes Cecilia that she wants to get better at being a saint so that one day she can protect him properly and protect the people better. And then eventually this girl named Telita, I don't know how to say her name, she shows up and she knows Abel, and apparently she used to be friends with a saint that eventually passed away because nobody wanted to help her, because everybody's like, you don't touch a saint, and then they just let her die, and that kind of crushed her. So yeah.
Well, if she was a proper saint, she would have God would have healed her, obviously.
Thoughts?
I enjoy this show. It is I do like it's kind of more simple humor, just based around the cutesy kind of love hijinks between the characters. And I just find myself just enjoying it in general. I do like its more pastel colors, more lighter, kind of more nostalgic feeling vibe that it's got going on. Yeah, it's a very simple show, and I very much have enjoyed it so far. It hasn't really done anything super interesting, but it's just a simple romance. So
rom-com.
Rom-com.
I think this is a very cute show. I think Cecilia is super adorable. Really do love her character. Super soft-spoken. She's legit pure because she's a saint. She can't even lie. She has like an inability to lie. But yet she every now and then shows her other side whenever nobody else is around but Lawrence, and Lawrence can't figure out why she's so comfortable around him. Yes. Clueless, massive clueless protagonist, the anime, and I'm kind of getting tired of it. This show kind of like is a 3-part for me. One is Cecilia is adorable as hell, and I can't take how adorable she is. And any comedy around her being adorable or getting frustrated over the fact that she can't lie, but everybody else can lie, and how she just wants to do her job right, but at the same time she wants to be lazy. Her little silly nature that she is whenever nobody else is around but Lawrence. Love it. Then there's the side of Lawrence, which seems to be improving here recently. After a long stretch of just absolutely, huh? Why does she act like that way around me? He's super clueless about the fact that she likes him and just doesn't get it. And then the other half is like almost kind of world building and the other characters included. Abel, I like the story about him and Lawrence and the idea that he used to protect him, and that kind of opened the door for Cecilia and how driven she is to protect him. But at the same time, Abel sort of enabled Lawrence's cluelessness to be magnified, because we already seen Lawrence being clueless, and now Abel's standing there going, oh, by the way, he's clueless. And I'm like, yes, I know. You don't have to tell me. I mean, is that all you're going to do here? Then just leave, because I already know that. As Helita, damn, her design is weird. I think I know why. I liked her story. It was very tragic, but at the same time, it does kind of highlight how different Lawrence treats Cecilia versus everybody else treats, it was Frederica, whoever the other saint was. It kind of tragic in that regard. So I'm hoping that she might add something else to the mix. Right now, it's kind of pretty much turning into two couples within the church itself, and the shenanigans that kind of happens between the two of them, which is nice because, again, too much focus on Lawrence turns out to be a bunch of clueless protagonist moments. It's got a great style to it. It's got some really sweet moments, but I will say that overall, it's not a great show, which is sort of disappointing to me, but it is enough that I'm finding it enjoyable. And again, that a lot of that has to do with Cecilia really just taking the steering wheel and just keeping going with it. But I am kind of curious as to what they might end up doing with Lawrence, with his quote unquote curse, how Cecilia can kind of help him. If they'll end up exploring certain things, like is the possibility that Cecilia isn't that strong because she's in love and because you're sort of supposed to keep pure in order to have some sort of divine touch to you. Maybe it's because she's in love with Lawrence that she'll never become stronger, even though her love is what's driving her to try to get stronger. If they might get into aspects of like, can a saint eventually lie in, what that might affect them, how could that possibly affect them? There's a lot of possibilities they can go into. The obvious one is that even though they claim they're trying to keep Cecilia a secret, everybody in the town knows about her being a saint, but they're trying to keep her a secret so that none of the corrupt nobles nearby will come and steal her away. And so I'm kind of assuming eventually we might have somebody show up to try to steal her away, and that might be the big climax moment of the season. But it's had a lot of really good moments. I especially love the umbrella scene. I thought that was super cute. The couple walking by and they handed Cecilia the umbrella so that she could walk under the umbrella with Lawrence, and then right when they go to leave, the rain stops. And then she runs out there and falls all Moe-like, and so Lawrence has to princess carry her back to the town, or back to the church. It does get really cute with Lawrence whenever you see his overprotective side, because it's so been driven into his head that he has to protect her as a priest. So it's got its cute moments. I don't think there's ever been besides, like I said, Lawrence cluelessness. I don't think there's ever been a moment or an episode where I didn't enjoy it. So it's just overall, it's been a positive experience for me watching the show. It's kind of one of the very few sugary shows of the season. Could you like? I guess technically, My Tiny Senpai is probably most people's like sugar show this season, but I think this one's probably mine. Been really enjoying it. So
I would put this more in the well. I don't know. They're probably both about equal on the sugar scale. So yeah.
Yeah, since you only get like 3 dosages of Tonikawa. There's only four dosages over the season of Tonikawa. There you go. That's Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence. Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. This is still going. We're on like what, episode 17?
Are we? I lost track a long time ago.
Lost track of it. Nihime to Kimono no. Crunchyroll's streaming it. Studio JC Staff. Manga is the source. Drama, fantasy, romance. Yeah, we kind of did a first impressions last season of this one, but we're kind of giving a quick mid-season impressions, I guess. Mid-core. Of course, it's the one that's where you have the girl, Sari, who was sent off to be sacrificed to the beast because the beast folk have won the last war against the humans, but they created a truce where they'll kind of keep each other separate. But every now and then, in order to keep the status that the beasts have won, humans have to give up a sacrifice to the lord of the lands every now and then. And Sari was one of them. And she said, "I'm not afraid of you." And he got super mad about that. And eventually he becomes very interested in Sari and goes to be sacrificed. But then she says, "Well, I'm going to be I came here to be a sacrifice. My whole life has been, my family raised me to be a sacrifice because they were trying to keep their own daughter from being sacrificed. So they pretty much brought her in to be a replacement." And so when she found out about that, she realized my whole life is a sacrifice. So she gave herself up to him. They end up falling in love. Cut forward. Sari is trying to prove herself to everybody that she can be the queen of all the beasts because she's a human, and everybody doesn't like the idea of a human being the queen. Doesn't make any sense. But yeah. What's been your thoughts of it lately?
Lately, it's the same as it was before. I still very much love this show. I think it is brilliantly written. I absolutely love the tender moments between Sari and Leo. Really like the how much growth Leo has done over the course of the show, and Sari has done some absolutely. She is absolutely coming into her own. I really love how each little kind of task or whatever that Anubis, doofball, he keeps giving her all these tasks, and she keeps finding different ways of overcoming them. And usually, as Andrew has pointed out at some point, what was it, the way you put it?
What was that?
Sarafi saving the day in each one of these things, and you were saying that
went over people's hearts.
Went over the people's
it's basically
hearts.
Yeah, it's basically like the person that hates Sari of the week, and then she has to win them over, and then that's the episode.
Yeah. So yeah, she's doing that a lot, and
yeah, she's doing that a lot,
and I love it. I absolutely love how the different situations that they're dealing with. Currently, we're having a real big issue with certain people not liking the king, and which is kind of normal. A lot of people don't like the king, but
hostile takeover.
Sarafi is going to save the day because she has that dinky little Phoenix guy. No, I love this show.
Ben is useless. This is useless, dude. The most unfitting Seiyu ever. Like he's what was that microphone guy from My Hero Academia? It's like this is a weirdest guy to have voice him. It's the weirdest voice. Anyways, yeah, I agree. I think the core of this show is so held together by Sari and Leo's relationship and their chemistry. They're just so perfect to each other. Like from the get-go, him trying to scare her, and she's like, "Why are you faking being like strong? Like, who are you trying to, what are you trying to prove by being all vicious and everything?" And it's legit a story reason why he's doing that. And it's been golden. Their relationship has been golden ever since then. I love every scene with them. I love those moments where you have the struggle where Leo just doesn't want to part ways with Sari. His obviously fearful of her danger. At the same time, she's trying to prove herself to him that she can be queen, that she shouldn't always be under his wing and protected and never let to stretch her own wings and be the queen that she's supposed to be. They're doing really good with that kind of stuff. Yes, I will admit that for quite a while, especially that first core, while they do have some really good moments, and they do really pull off some of those scenes where it kind of gets that big climax, it became very formulaic. It's legit. All right, Anubis says somebody's showing up, and they're probably not going to like Sari being in this castle, and that person shows up, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's a human in front of me. Why the hell is this human here?" And Leo's going, "How dare you speak like that about my queen? I will have whoever I want." And then eventually Sari goes, "Oh, no, chill. It's okay. It's okay." And then she's super sweet. And then eventually they go, "Oh yeah, okay, you're cool." And then they leave. And then next episode cuts. Anubis is like, "All right, now this person's going to show up, and they're not going to like that Sari's the queen." And then sure enough, they show up, and they hate Sari. Which makes sense to this world because the humans and the beasts are separate. And as Sari kind of puts it, she's sort of seen both sides of it. That's what makes her unique. She's seen how humans were terrified of beasts and how they acted and the idea of a beast. And so now when she's in like a beast village and everybody panics seeing her, she sees the same faces. She doesn't see hatred. She sees fear because the beasts fear humans being around and then the humans fear beasts being around. It makes sense why everybody doesn't want Sari to be there, but at the same time, it's like it gets repetitive after a while. Every now and then you'll have these really great episodes. Like Tetra's episode was super good.
I love Tetra.
Essentially, Tetra was the princess of this kingdom, and she felt like her mother hated her, the queen, because she finally birthed the son, and all she cared about was the son. So Tetra felt like she was just being discarded, and then basically Tetra starts to mess with Sari because Tetra knows that her mother is purposely keeping her son from seeing Sari, doesn't want her to bless him, because it's a human touching my daughter or my son. And so Tetra just kind of messed around with Sari until eventually Sari helps her with her situation. And I think it was super sweet. Really love that episode. But yeah, one thing shifted at some point. I've always hated Ilya. I'll never care about Ilya. Apparently they were trying to do something with Ilya.
Ilya's probably...
I understand him. Dude had some rough time in his past. I understand why he hates beasts so much, but yeah, I don't really care.
Ilya is probably, to me, while it's one of the better stories, it's also probably the weakest of the stories in a weird way. I like what it was trying to do. I think it failed in its impact, probably the worst. I just don't think it pulled it off in any way, shape, or form, if that makes sense.
But yeah, I will say this core has started off with a banger. That is the introduction of Best Boy, Lant. Lante is so cool. I love this dude. He's like, they were basically...
And they picked his voice actor perfectly.
Yeah. Anubis basically comes out and says, all right, Sari needs a guard. So we made an announcement. Let's go out to the courtyard and see who wants to be Sari's bodyguard. Because the queen needs a bodyguard. And they go out there and Anubis is kind of a little bit full of himself. Like, yeah, it looks like the courtyard's empty. Oh, looks like nobody wants to be your guard. And then out of nowhere, this hyena beast folk guy just pops up out of nowhere, beats the crap out of Anubis, or at least
didn't he land on top of him?
Yeah,
he jumped down from the top and land on him.
Yeah, and he gets angry, and then he kind of just quickly dispatches Anubis. Which Anubis isn't like a trained fighter, but he is a defender. He's of a bloodline that's supposed to protect and guide the king. But yeah, Lante, they nail his character so well. Yeah, his Seiyu's great. But like, just the animation. They've been doing a really good job of animating this entire series. I mean, a bunch of beast folk, and they're not CGIing any of it. It's got its own style. It's not over-the-top crazy animation, but they're doing really good at portraying all these beast folk. Lante, I love his tongue cannot stay in his freaking mouth, and I love it. It's such a cool little quirk about him. He's just talking all high and mighty about some situation, his tongue just flapping out there. I love it. I love I think he's such the coolest character to add to this because his story arc was pretty solid. This idea of being like the most detested beast of this world. I think it was something to do with them pretty much betraying the crown at some point and being hunted down. And at some point he was trying to save his sick mother and nobody wanted to. They suspected him of stealing the medicine, so he couldn't get the medicine to his mother. He had a crappy past. But I think, yes, it's another case of Sari has to win over his heart. But they did a pretty good job of kind of pulling that through. And then as it gets into the following episodes, that's when we start kicking into legitly where they're trying to overtake the throne. Like, there's another group that's trying to overtake it. And it's been a really solid story arc so far. I just cannot wait to see where it goes from here. But yeah, this core has definitely ramped it up, and I've really been enjoying it. So it's been very refreshing. Now, granted, it's probably going to turn into Sari wins over the heart of this other group's leader, and then eventually he doesn't want to take over because she wins his heart over, but we'll see. It does seem like it's really kind of ramping up with this idea of not just Sari growing as a character, or at least winning over somebody, but Leonhardt definitely learning to trust her and stuff, so... Yeah, it's been turning out to be a really solid series, even though, like I said, the beginning core had a lot of formulaicness to it. It's growing into something good, so we'll see.
Yeah, Leo is kind of weird in his when he wants to trust her and when he doesn't want to trust her. I think it's more along the lines of he just sees a lot of potential in her but doesn't really trust her type thing, I guess.
He trusts her, he just doesn't. He thinks he knows more than she does about the places he obviously knows there's a threat nearby, and he doesn't. And those she believes she can handle it. He's obviously going to have his own fears. It's a self desire to protect her. Obviously, he doesn't want to lose this thing that's literally become his. She's become his everything, and if he loses her, he's. I think he said at some point, I have nothing. Anyways. Tonikawa, Over the Moon for You, High School Days, streaming on Crunchyroll. It's an ONA running for 4 episodes. I think we've already had 3 or 4 of the episodes. Maybe 4 came out, and maybe I missed it, but might as well review at this point. Yeah. How are you liking High School Days? Nasa becomes a teacher and gives relationship advice to little girls, because that seems like all they want to talk to him about is his relationship. The fact that he's married. Did you watch it?
No.
Oh, I thought you said you watched it. I will admit, it's better than the other 2 seasons. That's the most praise people can get out of Andrew for Tonikawa is that I enjoyed at least the first 2 episodes. The third episode was a little bit of a shrug for me. I did like the whole thing with Ginga, and one of the schoolgirls apparently likes him, which is kind of bizarre. But yeah, I think a lot to do with the fact that I like the injection of more chemistry, because I think my problem that I've been having with Tonikawa for the longest time was that we just have this base chemistry of Nasa, Tsukasa, the sisters from the hot spring or the bathhouse, and then you every now and then, I barely ever seen her in the second season, Chitose would pop up. The second season popped up the grandma that was taking care of Tsukasa at some point. But it seems like it has a big cast, but not really. And there's so much focus on these characters, and the joke got so samey with these characters. Each one of them has their quirk, and they just keep with that joke. So I almost felt like introducing the school that NASA is helping tutor at kind of injected a lot of chemistry. And I was kind of excited for it with the first episode. I'm like, wow, I actually enjoyed an episode of Tonikawa, which is rare. But then it got samey. It didn't take long for even this ONA to kind of get samey for me again. So it's better than most of the seasons. Like, literally 4 episode ONA has been better than the first and second season for me. But it's still not great, because it kind of comes back to that same thing where, despite the fact that each of these characters have their own chemistry that are injecting into this show, in most cases it boils down to they want to ask NASA about his relationship. And they're running relationship advice from NASA, which ends up going back to Tsubasa. And then whenever it cuts to Tsukasa, what has been literally the last 3 episodes of this arc for Tonikawa? Tsubasa being jealous of the schoolgirls. And then it cuts away, and it comes back, and what is Tsukasa talking about? That she's jealous of Nasa being around schoolgirls. And then it cuts away, and it comes back, and what's Tsukasa doing today? Oh, she's jealous because Nasa's with schoolgirls. And it's like, come on, people. The writer just loves just getting stuck on things. So, like I said, nutshell, it's better than a lot of the episodes I've had of this series, but still has its problems, I guess, in the end. So, yeah. There you go. And finally, drum roll, Chris. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, 2nd season. Yes, the Rudius ED arc, as many people call it. Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on this season so far? Are you a Debbie Downer like Andrew, who thinks that the quality went down with the 2nd season versus the 1st season? Or are you like, no, it's as great looking as it's always been, Andrew?
I don't know. I'd go with all that, but it looks fine. I just think I think it looks fine. I'm not. I don't care. I'm having a lot of fun with the show. But that was to be given, seeing as how I went all out on Jobless Reincarnation when we first watched the show. I got totally sucked in, went and did all the web novels. So yeah, I really am loving it. I really am enjoying seeing.
So how do you like this new story that you never experienced before? Or did you watch my videos and thus you got the idea of Volume 7?
Oh yeah, the Volume 7 thing.
The whole first segment, the first, what was it, 3 episodes? Not the episode 0, but 1 through 3, I think it was. Or was it 1? Yeah, it was 1 through 3. Were not in the web novels, but they were in the light novel when he adapted it.
They are a side note in the web novel. We are the people who did the web novels are aware of Sarah and how she fits into the story, and a lot of the characters that are mentioned in Counter Arrow and Soldat's group, or I'm sorry, the other guy's group. They're mentioned and they do have a significance, but it's not to the extent of what was there. So yes, it is nice to see a lot of the kind of understanding of what has happened. I got a lot of watching Andrew's Mushoku Mondays plug No, no. Since I between watching Andrew's Mushoku Mondays and basically this, now I do have more context to etc., which was there, but it's more of a side note. It's kind of a this happened and it didn't work, and that's why I'm really upset. And then Man God happens, and then he goes to the school. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm loving it. I really have enjoyed it. I really love Fitz Senpai popping up, and we're getting to visit with him. And so all of that stuff, I really love it. There's more that I can't wait to see animated out for sure. So yeah, loving it.
Yeah, I think the biggest question mark for season 2 is, so visually, I'm not going to get too into the weeds on this one. It doesn't look as good as season 1. That's not to say it looks bad, because it still looks better than 99% of anime out there. So it's not saying too much, but there is a lot of wonky character designs. I mean, there was one shot where he's grabbing this envelope from, that was the invitation to the Magic Academy. She's grabbing the envelope away from Elise, and literally his hand turns into the gauntlet from, like, what was it called? Infinity or whatever. Infinity War, is it Infinity War? Anyways, a big, massive hand. So it definitely doesn't look good as good as the first season. And I think a lot of it has to do with, I don't think there's heart in the directing anymore. Because obviously they lost Manabu Okamoto from the first season, who literally did all the directing and script work. In interviews, he said that it was a lot of work to do season 1. So I'm imagining he probably just gave up on the project, couldn't do it any longer, which sucks because there was a lot of passion in season 1. And season 2 it's functioning. It still looks visually good, and like I said, better than 99% shows out there. It doesn't have the camera angles and the visual shots, the perspective shots, and a lot of that inner dialogue that typically would hit certain scenes more than they should. And so it just kind of feels a little bit lacking, like, heart. And I noticed also here recently that there's a lot of inner dialogue that, while light novel adaptations to anime loses a lot of inner dialogue. You can't have a character stand there for 10 minutes thinking about the situation. And Rudius is a lot in his head, of course. But I felt like with the first season, they did a good job of kind of balancing that. You would have those every now and then, those shots of his previous life that would give you a little bit more emphasis on what he's thinking at the current moment. And that's not really here with the second season. Like, I don't even remember. It's hard to remember any moments where he's really thinking about his previous life. He's not thinking about his inner struggles anymore. It's just mostly open dialogue. There's very little in his head anymore, which does technically take a lot of those aspects out of the story that necessarily should be there in order to hit a lot of these beats. Like here recently with the market, and them taking up Julie. There's a lot of emphasis in that story beat about why he's choosing to literally strangle out this girl. And that's the idea that he had a terrible previous life and he chose not to end his own life in his previous life, and he regretted it, and that he wanted to give that choice to her. There's a lot in his head that's sort of scary. He legit feels like if he kills her there, she could possibly be reborn into another life where he'll be happy like he did. And not that I need all that stuff adapted. It's just kind of shows you where it's sort of missing a little bit of life in there. In the end, I still love it. I still think it's fantastic. The novel's still there for me to read. And yes, they can't adapt everything. Even in the first season, they skipped a lot of stuff in 5 and 6, volume 5 and 6. Especially Edis's segment that literally explains why she left Rudius and all of her difficulties that she was facing throughout their entire journey. But yeah, I will say that there's only like a miss episode here and there. Like the episode Saving Sarah was a miss. I think the introduction to the Academy was kind of half and half. But there was a lot of really impactful episodes. First episode, nailed it. I think the episode with Julie, they nailed it. A lot of aspects of Zenoba, they're really pulling off. This is still a great adaptation. Just again,
not to the caliber of season 1, which I guess we should never expect, because I guess season 1 was an anomaly. Who knows? Maybe Manobu Okamoto will come back for later seasons, but it's still a good show. I still like it, and like I said, it's still visually a very pleasing show, and I cannot wait for, sadly, April, because most of the stuff that I want to see is going to be in April with the second core, whenever that comes around, the second season, second core. This first core is solid, though. I think the most mind-boggling thing about this adaptation, though, is easily that they revealed Master Fitz early on. That was probably, like, for most people, was like, whoa, they're actually going to do that. We're not going to keep that secret about Fitz's identity at all, are we? And no, they're like, no, let's show it. So that's kind of been frustrating for some people. I honestly never really expected them to be able to pull that off, because with the seiyuu and visuals to give it, because honestly, when you're reading the books, you don't really have a real clear idea of what she really looks like. And so having it animated, it's very hard to really kind of keep that a secret. It's a secret. So, I mean, I understand why they chose to do that, but at the same time, I know that's kind of causing some people frustration, because they sort of have a little bit more insight than Rudius has, and that's bothering some people. I made a video on it, why Rudius hasn't figured it out. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting choice they made, and at the same time, I think in the end there was no real way of winning that. So yeah, I'm enjoying it overall. I know that you're not allowed to criticize anything about it, otherwise you hate it. But I do criticize it every now and then. But I have been enjoying covering it. Been having a blast making weekly videos on it. So pretty much Sunday and Mondays are pretty much Mushoku for me. It's videos of Mushoku.
Yeah.
Well, Sunday is pretty much me watching the episode, analyzing it, my thoughts on it, and then basically giving all the skip content so that people have full context of the episode, which has been a lot of fun. Then yeah, Mushoku Mondays, where I do the novels, which I'm beyond the second season at this point. Pachi.
It'll be interesting to see where they close out this season for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people are already speculating on it, but who knows? Who knows? But yeah, Mushoku Tensei is easily going down as one of my favorite franchises. I'm still kind of sad that Okamoto did not stick around, but it is what it is. It's still a great, fantastic series. So yeah, that's it. We're done, Chris. All the first impressions of the season is done, unless I forgot something. Do you remember anything that I missed?
No.
Yeah, I think we're good. Somebody will probably give us a comment saying, but what about this show? What about Precure?
We haven't been covering Precure for years, so.
What about Precure, Chris? Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed these first impressions. I guess we'll return next week with the discussion. We'll talk about some news or something like that. And then we have to start thinking of like actual written scripted episodes. What you had like this thing in your back pocket a long time ago. Did you completely forget that?
It was a thought that I really was excited about, and time. You want me to talk about shows that are going, right?
Oh, here he goes again. That's his normie way of getting out of anything now, is going, well, I just don't have time for any of it, so choose. Yeah. Anyways, we're not falling for it. Everybody criticize him in the comments and on Discord. Openly welcome that stuff. Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed. Again, we're at talkingspirit.com. That's where all of our links, social media links, ways to support us. And yes, our Discord, where you can join and criticize Chris for being a normie. But also ways to support us through Patreon, or tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that kind of stuff through YouTube. Greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel. It means so much to us. And y'all take care.
Os.